-1. Fire.
It's a madhouse! A madhouse!
From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space.
There is no sanctuary.
Adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000, maybe worse.
Welcome to the future.
Hi there, my name is Michael, and we're going to be exploring the film Logan's Run today, and I'm going to be going through the entire film and spoiling all of it, so you should probably watch the film before listening to this. Thanks a lot. Logan's Run is a sci-fi movie directed by Michael Anderson, released in 1976. It stars Michael York and Jenny Agutter, and was based on the 1967 novel of the same name by William F. Noland and George Clayton Johnson. The film is about a post-apocalyptic society where all of humanity lives inside a giant, self-contained, computerized city totally cut off from the outside world. Their city looks like a giant shopping mall complete with ultra-futuristic technology like escalators. The inhabitants spend their time enjoying all of their sensual passions and desires without a care in the world.
Just lying around, never working, without a care in your head, full of long, luxurious hippie hair.
Marriage is unknown. People are encouraged to sleep with as many partners as possible, and bearing and raising children is done entirely by machine. This lifestyle of
Absolute pleasure.
has a downside, however, as no one is allowed to live past 30 years of age. Once you reach your 30th birthday, you are forced to go through the terrifying ritual of carousel. People are taught to believe that carousel is a magical religious experience that will allow their souls to be reincarnated into the next generation. However, some people simply can't enjoy 3 decades of partying followed by disintegration, and follow the edict of Pauly Shore.
Just because we're stuck in a bubble doesn't mean we can't cause any trouble.
These misfits don't want to float up into the sky and be zapped by robo-lasers, they actually want to live into their dirty 30s. Enter the Sandmen, a group of police officers employed to hunt down and execute runners if they escape carousel. One of these Sandmen is the titular Logan 5, played by Michael York. He's given an assignment by the all-powerful supercomputer that runs the city to find and destroy a secret cabal that assists runners trying to escape carousel. On this mission, Logan's beliefs are challenged and eventually shattered as he gradually understands that people simply die during carousel, and there's no proof they reincarnate in new bodies. Logan is especially miffed when his life clock is artificially accelerated to give him only a few months left to live in order to better infiltrate the cabal.
Question. My life clock. But am I still Red 6? But I had 4 more years. I will get them back, won't I?
The character of Logan is quite similar to Deckard, the main character of a far more beloved and praised film, Blade Runner. Both are servants of an oppressive and violent system of laws that brutalize people who just want to escape society and live freely. And both characters go through a similar process of assassinating fugitives and gradually reclaiming their humanity by recognizing how awful their actions are. During this mission, Logan meets and falls in love with a runner named Jessica 6, played by the stunningly beautiful Jenny Agutter.
Here I am. Now tell me why. The most beautiful woman you ever saw, I suppose. And you must have me.
Yes, yes, oh God, yes!
Seriously, Miss Agutter is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen on film, and her accent is to die for. And she spends a significant amount of the movie semi-naked, which is just fine with me. Brasiers were apparently outlawed in the sci-fi dystopia of the future, which is also something I'm totally okay with. Logan and Jessica eventually escape the city, but not before the runner cabal is crushed by the Sandmen. After exiting through the disused bowels of the city, the couple emerge in a strange ice cavern, and meet a delightfully silly-looking robot named Box.
Fish, plankton, sea greens, and protein from the sea.
Despite looking like Lawrence Tierney wrapped in tinfoil, Box explains that he froze all of the previous runners to be used as food, and intends to kill them too. Logan destroys the ridiculous robot, which doesn't seem like it should have been all that difficult to be honest, and presses onward. Beyond the caves lies a place that daywalkers call Outside. I'm not certain this sequence in the movie is entirely accurate, but I'm told by those who have been to this place called Outside IRL that it is mostly correct.
I hate outside! I hate it!
Jessica!
I hate it!
Jessica!
Logan and Jessica meander among the grass, rocks, and trees in a scene that goes on for too damn long until they stumble across the ruins of post-apocalyptic Washington, D.C. They quickly realize that no one escaped the city before then, and there's no sanctuary to greet them, no society to live in, just the ruins and themselves. Within the crumbling capital, they find paintings and statues of old people with creased faces and beards.
That must be the look of being old.
Something they have never seen before. They also meet an absolutely adorable old man played by Peter Ustinov. He's been living alone for so many decades that he can't remember his own name, so I just call him Peter.
Are you alone here?
Oh, hardly. I got all these cats.
Logan and Jessica eventually realize that you can survive outside the dome because the supercomputer has no power over them there. After killing Logan's fanatical Sandman friend who followed them outside, they're free to live life however they wish in peace and contentment together. However, Logan decides he doesn't want to live in Megaton for the rest of his life, and together with Jessica and Peter heads back to the city intent on freeing everyone from computerized tyranny. Back inside the city walls, Logan is instantly captured and taken to be telepathically interrogated by the evil supercomputer. Logan defeats his Silicon nemesis by pulling the old Captain Kirk trick of forcing its logic circuits to overload or something, and victory is assured.
Do not resist, Logan 5. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
The movie ends with the city blowing up, apparently because the computer set everything on fire before it blew up, and the youthful horde escape to the surface and see an old person for the first time. Humanity is ready to abandon its childish hedonism and accept hard work and commitment. Oh, joy. Logan's Run is not a perfect movie. It is overly long, and a few segments could easily have been trimmed or removed, like the meandering around the Capitol Wasteland sequence or the trip to the cathedral. But it's still a classic that looks fantastic for its age. The costumes and setting are a kaleidoscope of color and gorgeous to behold. Some younger fans may dislike that the exterior shots of the city are HO scale models like you'd see in an old Godzilla film, but I think they and the matte paintings are amazing. The retro technology is also glorious, with gigantic banks of computers with dials, buttons, tapes, and lights. Like those lights there, I'm not sure what they're doing, but I bet it's important. Very important. Logan's Run is kind of unique because it is an increasingly rare conservative voice in science fiction. Yes, if you hadn't noticed by now, Logan's Run is very much a traditional conservative film through and through, which is a little bit odd considering that science fiction is so concerned with the future rather than the past. The movie was made at the tail end of the counterculture, a social movement created by the newly adult baby boomers in the 1960s. The boomers challenged previous notions of family, sexuality, domestic life, relationships, and generally everything to do with how their parents had been running society. Underpinning all of this was an outlook on the world that was powerfully inner-focused. Most of their revolution involved denying anyone else being the master of their fate and utterly rejecting serving the state, religion, military, history, culture, or anything not related to their own personal pleasure and fulfillment. This world should not be an unfamiliar one for people today, as in the 21st century, at least in the first world, the boomer outlook on things has won out. Everyone is told to delay having families and children as long as possible, and many on the political left are saying that childbearing should be powerfully reduced or even end entirely in order to solve the problem of overpopulation. Along with this, it is generally considered that both men and women in their 20s should hold off on marriage for as long as possible, so as to have sex with as many partners as they can, to have as much fun as they can before settling down, if they ever settle down at all. And even afterwards, so many marriages end in divorce. Permanency of relationships is a hard thing to come by. Furthermore, the movie also takes aim at ecology and conservationism. Once again, the media of the 21st century talk about various eco-friendly issues, including living as meekly as possible to reduce carbon footprint, not having kids, and generally making as little impact on the world as possible, and they're all lampooned in Logan's Run. Sustainability is one of the buzzwords nowadays, and this movie mocks the very idea of it. The entire reason that everyone has to die at age 30 is because a machine has, in inverted commas, scientifically determined that only a tiny number of people can survive while retaining enough food, water, energy, and ecological balance for everyone. The movie very clearly derides that sort of thinking and demands people be fruitful and multiply, explore the world and settle all of its borders, and don't live in fear of overpopulation. Logan's Run was made at a time period when some scientists were exploring an idea called neo-Malthusianism, which suggested that humanity would eventually have so many children that the population would outstrip the ability to feed itself. It was a popular enough concept that another classic sci-fi film, which I will get to eventually, called Soylent Green, was made exploring similar themes at about the same time. With the concept of carousel, the movie also mocks the concepts of reincarnation and rebirth that were adapted into the pseudo-mystical, hippy-dippy flower child movement of the time. The movie also has a wonderful scene with Farrah Fawcett that mocks the narcissism of plastic surgery to remain looking ever youthful. Something that, yet again, is far more of an obsession now than it was when it was originally made. Logan's Run did something that sci-fi does expertly. They took an existing idea or trend and extrapolated it out to a logical extreme. The mantra of the 1960s hippies, "Don't trust anyone over 30, was enhanced to mean everyone over 30 was a threat to the state and should be destroyed. Nowadays, over the past year or two, you can find again and again hateful stories about the old and how old people are ruining society, dragging everyone back, hurting everyone, destroying the youth. And especially in parts of the more liberal media, there's just a general disgust towards the old and the conservative, so it's nice to see something that goes against that trend. The libidinous hedonism of the free love movement was brought into a bizarre place where intimacy and families were a thing of the past, and Logan's Run rejects all of this. It tells people emphatically to settle down with one person, fall in love, raise a family, and do the hard work of building a new world. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying I agree with this or that side in the argument. Would I trade the remaining decades of life to have 30 years of total hedonistic partying?
Yes! Yes! Oh God, yes!
I'm just saying how refreshing it is to see a movie that explores perspectives other than telling us to enjoy
Sins of the flesh.
which we're bombarded with almost every day in magazines and newspapers, almost every form of entertainment. This is one that's actually saying, no, don't do that, that's a bad idea, just settle down with someone and enjoy a traditional life. Logan's Run is an excellent science fiction work with extraordinary visuals, interesting characters, and a fascinating society that has repercussions to this day. You don't need to agree with the politics to enjoy the film, though. It works on its own without that. It might be even more powerful in 2017 than it was in 1976. In terms purely of science fiction history, it's actually quite important because it prefigures a lot of what went on in the much-lauded film Blade Runner a few years later. At least in the sense that it's also about a character that works essentially as an assassin and turns against that lifestyle when he realizes how tyrannical and oppressive he's being. I'd say this is an underrated classic and should take its place among the acknowledged classics of science fiction cinema. Thank you very much. My name is Michael. Please like this video if you liked it, and please leave a comment below if you've seen the movie Logan's Run and what you thought about it, if you liked it, if you hated it, and what you thought of my analysis of it. I'm going to be linking a couple of my videos here related to other films, but please subscribe if you want to see more content related to science fiction films. I'm going to be doing another one of these probably next week. And yeah, my life clock is running out. I have to go to Carousel, so bye-bye.